1 minute, 60 seconds, and we're rolling. Thirty seconds, 30 seconds. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are off. All right. Good morning, everybody. We got Coach O'Driscoll on here nice and early. That's a treat. We have a few coaches on, but we have a pretty intense workout on tap. So with that in mind, quite a few athletes who raced last weekend will get the joy of following the recording over the next several days, but you guys are going to do it right now, do it live. It is something we've done before. It's a VO2 focused session. And we talk about the work that we do on days like Tuesday or some of our more foundational sessions as the bread and butter that supports this kind of work. Something like we did, we have a few minutes easy spinning, 3 minutes easy here, and then another kind of 4 minutes just ramping through zone 2. So a nice extended warm up to get ready. Nothing to pay attention to for a little bit. With this type of work, this is where we're really pushing up that top end. I talked about on Tuesday's session, it all blurs together, but I know in the afternoon I was talking about how that type of workout is what allows us to utilize our FTP number, right? We might do a threshold test or a lactate test, and we have this number. And the reality is a lot of athletes actually become very good at performing a Zwift FTP test, or even just they can kind of cheat the 20-minute effort in a way. A lactate test is a little harder to mess around with, but a 20-minute field test for power or a Zwift ramp test are both things where you might perform really well on that, but our ability to effectively make use of that number, if it's a number we're happy with our FTP, can be very limited. You might have an athlete who can do a certain effort for 20 minutes, and then you extrapolate 95% of that as FTP, which is what Zwift does, but they can't actually hold that for more than, say, 25 minutes, but they're just really good at that type of effort. So the work we do on, say, Tuesday, we're trying to make the best use possible or improve our ability to use more of our threshold repeatedly. But today, we are kind of hitting both ends. Yes, it will improve your ability to use it, but this is what is pushing up and even maintaining that top end, that threshold, that VO2, all of it. Massive aerobic training like we tend to do for Ironman, it naturally draws VO2 down a little bit. You don't need an unbelievably high VO2 to perform well in an Ironman. It's actually a little bit costly to have an incredibly high VO2 for long endurance sport. So it's normal that it comes down a little bit from, say, if we spent 4 weeks with you doing solely VO2 focused work, we could get that number up. Wouldn't serve a practical purpose. This type of work, though, we have to intersperse, we have to sprinkle it in. Sometimes we do it with the 40-20s. Today, we're doing the big boy version, and I'm asking you to do 2.5-minute blocks of work. For context, I've watched you guys and gals suffer through different workouts and push through when I've provided challenging things. This is a type of workout where normally I'd be asking you to do 3 to 4 minutes. The reason we're doing 2.5 minutes is because we aren't training for just one sport. We have to keep it in the context of all we're doing. And if I knew that the only thing you had to do today was one VO2 session and that you could recover tomorrow and that yesterday hadn't been too hard, then we'd probably push for even 3.5 to 4 minute blocks. That's not the case. We have other sports to incorporate. You might have had a hard, or actually very likely, especially if you're down with Jerry, had a hard swim yesterday. We might have a key run session tomorrow. So we're sticking with our 2.5 minute blocks. 2.5 minute blocks. We're going to go through the warm up. The meat of this workout, 1 minute at 110%, 1 minute at 115% of FTP. And the final 30 seconds, you're going to 120% of FTP. There are, yes, as Emily said, if you did Santa Cruz doing this workout today, doing this workout in general, beneficial. Doing this workout today, probably not the best idea. I'm happy I don't see the Mallows on here as they were on Tuesday. Just another couple minutes of easy spinning here, and then we're going to start a little more intense warm up. But with that in mind, this is the type of work. If you race on Sunday, let's see, somebody just asked if you race on Sunday, you could do, I would say don't do more than 3 of these. It's a completely fine opener, assuming you're tapering, but I think you don't need to do more than 3 of these, Kristen. If you feel good after 2, that's fine. I would still, you can spin for this duration, but there's no need to go through the entire thing if you're racing on Sunday. And the rest of you, there's a little bit of, actually, I'll wait to tell you about that for a few more minutes. Another couple minutes easy spinning, and then we're going to start a zone 3 ramp. Remember, as we get towards kind of the meat of this workout, these 2.5 minute blocks, they are short. Yes, they might feel hard in the minute or in the moment, but they're not as damaging as they feel. You will bounce back from these pretty quickly. You will recover from these. There's a massive difference when we're up at this type of power between asking you to do it for 3.5 or 4 minutes and 2.5 minutes. And that's why we consciously make the choice to shorten this up a bit compared to what might typically do if you were just on the bike. But these are definitely ones you have to buckle up for. You can do this. This is about repeatability. I've watched you guys, actually, all of you, become very efficient at those 80%, 85, 90%, even as Tuesday showed, those 95% efforts. You've gotten so good at riding in that steady state, alternating between that zone 3 and zone 4. This is the type of work that we don't throw in every week. We don't throw in all the time. So it does feel hard when we do it, but it's very, very necessary to kind of keep that aerobic top end. So 1 minute, it backs off a little bit here. And then we start just a nice ramp through zone 3. Effort's going to progress each 2 minutes. Key here through this whole warm-up and this whole workout, cadence is your choice. I would recommend you take a lot of this warm-up to fold into the aero position if you're on your race bike, because the main set is most likely going to be done out of the aero position. The focus on today's main set is the power, not the aero position. So you can use this kind of extended warm-up to spend some time in there today. So 15 seconds and we're going to start. Three, 2, 1. All right. Here we go. Starts out at 82%. Nothing too hard. Goes 82, 85, 88. So we're just progressing up towards that top range of zone 3. Cadence, your choice, like Emily recommended. Very normal to progress cadence, just like we talk about with the 30-30s. As we work through this 6 minute block, you settle in right here. As power demand increases, bring that cadence up ever so slightly along with it. As we get towards, the reason it's important to practice bringing that cadence up a little bit here, you might even want to force the cadence quite high to the 90, 100 to a 100 RPM range when we get to the final minute of this 6 minute build. The reason for that is for this VO2 work, the most efficient range, we talk about efficiency a lot. We talk about bringing the cadence down at 80 or 85%. When we go up to 105, 110, 115, 120% of FTP, efficiency there is going to be found in the 90 plus RPM range. 85 maybe for some, but in general, certainly above 85 RPM. When you start forcing those power numbers out, that power level out below 85 RPM, it's a massive, massive muscular load. So we don't want to do that. The goal is to have a nice mix of where the load's being distributed, and work on that pedaling efficiency, hopefully in the 90 to 100 RPM range when we do the VO2 work. So another 25 seconds here, then power will just tick up that little bit. This is all your time. This is all just a nice extended warm up. We have this ramp through zone 3. We have another few minutes easy. We have a quick 3-minute ramp through zone 4. This is a little bit the opposite of, when we have longer main blocks like Tuesday, where we have to abbreviate the warm up a little bit to get into it. Today, lots of pedaling to prime the body, make sure we work through any fatigue, and get yourself mentally ready for this main set. Remember, as always, nice and smooth through this whole warm-up. A lot of your focus is going to be, when we get to the VO2 blocks, the 2.5 minute blocks, your focus is going to be on just getting that power out. So you're not going to have as much bandwidth or energy to focus on form or even really think about those focal points that we talk about so much. So if you kind of put those in your mind now, you're pedaling smooth, you're focusing on your cadence, the relaxed head position, whatever you're choosing, the kind of rhythmic breathing rather than jagged as effort ramps up through the zone 3 block. That's what we want to carry into the main set. Just like we think about when it comes to racing, we want to ingrain good habits, ingrain those focal points, ingrain smooth pedaling, proper body position on the bike, all of those things in training, so that when we get to a race and we start to fatigue, we don't have to think about it. It's just our natural default. This workout, it's a abbreviated version of that, in that you have this warm up to focus on those things. But by the time we get in, you're in minute 2 of each 2.5 minute block. Yes, it's good to bring your awareness to the breathing. Yes, it's good to make sure you're not getting ragged on the bike, but a lot of your energy is just going to be on, let's get this power out. So another 5 seconds, and we're up to 88%, last couple minutes. Here we go. If you can, this 2 minutes is when it's going to be helpful to build that cadence, ideally towards the 90 to 100 range, just to get things firing in that zone under lower power. I always try on these warm-ups when we're doing a nice zone 3 block. If this was outside, I'd be saying 6 minutes zone 3, and it would be up to you. I always try to incorporate a bit of time throughout each range of the zone, the lower end, the higher end, partly to warm the body up, but partly also so you can feel the difference between kind of the range in that power band. That zone 3, it's not just 85% or just 88 or 89 or 90%. It's a nice range. You get the feel for it in here. When you take the workouts outside or you're doing riding outside, you get a climb on a weekend ride, maybe, kind of what this feels like. What range you have to play around with. Of course, you might have the number on the screen telling you, but it's good to feel it as well. Forty more seconds here, then we have a few minutes nice and easy to spin it out. Twenty seconds, then a nice few minutes easy. and easy. All right. Remember the easy time, you power set to 50%, but or I think maybe just over 50%, but you choose. This is your time, erg mode on, erg mode off, arrow down, whatever you need. A lot of times when we get to Thursday, we're well into the training week. This isn't maybe Tuesday where maybe we had a Monday easy day and we're a little more rested. So it's important to give yourself before a hard session. We're almost 15 minutes in now. We're going to be, I think, over 20 minutes in before we start our main set. And that gives the body time to work through any fatigue. It's not uncommon for you to do a nice 6-minute build and then that build feel like a little blocked is the term in cycling when there's just a layer of fatigue. You're not quite feeling great yet. So you ease into it. We do the 6-minute build through zone 3. It pushes against that blocked feeling a little bit. Then we have a few minutes easy spinning. Then we go into our 3-minute zone 4 build, and then another few minutes easy spinning before we start this VO2, these 2.5-minute blocks of work. The goal with all of that is to work through. If you feel great from now, perfect. That's going to be a good day. If you don't, this is just kind of working through any fatigue or just any tiredness in general from hopping on at 5:45. This is one where focus is going to be really key. Physiologically, we never give a workout that you can't do. There's 2.5 minutes blocks of this. You're all trained to do. Everybody can do. And believe it or not, this is still, those 1-minute blasts where O'Driscoll was sending me messages all day about when erg mode went off and it was up to you to go full gas for a minute. Those are working a completely different system. You might think, well, these are above threshold. VO2 work is still aerobic. It's still working on that high-end aerobic side of things. And that's why that 120% cap, that 110 to 120% range is so crucial. No need to push above it. If you're feeling like your legs are golden today, when we get to the main set, do not push above the prescribed power in there. As always, you can use that down arrow a little bit to work through things. So 30 more seconds, and then we're just going to run through a nice zone 4 build. We're going to go 92%, 97%. We're actually going to go to the last minute up to 102%. When you're preparing for a really intense workout, you need some intensity in the warm-up. So 5 seconds, and then we're going to start that 3-minute build. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. This first minute, you just choose, settle into whatever cadence is comfortable for you. And over the 3 minutes, each minute as power ticks up, try to build your cadence, ideally finishing that last minute in the 90 to 100 RPM range. Just nice and smooth, making use of that arrow position through this whole warm-up, given the fact that we're probably not going to spend much time in there during the main set. 10 seconds, power will tick up that bit, higher up in zone 4. Bring that cadence up right about now. And here we go. Power goes up a little bit. Remember, practice that for this before this next minute hits and the power goes up. Same thing in the main set. You're always going to want to bring your power or your cadence up to your goal cadence before an interval starts, before power ticks up, because it's much harder to do once the power is being held there, the resistance is on from the trainer. Always 3 to 5 seconds before that power hits, just bring that cadence up. And remember, really try to get into the 90 to 100 RPM range as we go into the final minute of this warm-up. Ten seconds. Start bringing that cadence up right about now into that 90 to 100 range. And here we go. Final minute, nice and smooth. Then you have a nice, easy spin out after this. "30 seconds. Finish this strong, just a little icing on the cake, open the body up, get the lungs going, get everything push a little bit. "10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and easy, easy. All right, 3 minutes easy. This is your time, fuel up, hydrate, everything. Then we're getting into the main set. I like to look at the 3-minute build through zone 4, this warm up when we talked about, say, splashing, if you're going to a race where the water is really, really cold, splashing some cold water on your face, kind of shock you, get everything ready. That's a little bit what that little 3-minute push is. We'll have had 23 minutes of kind of extended warm up before we hit this main set. And then it's really just about buckling up and getting through each 2.5-minute block. With that in mind, the power is set 110, 115, 120. That's right in the sweet spot of Vo2. It's challenging you to push a little bit higher that last 30 seconds. You can use that down arrow at any point during the workout or even from the outset. We're trying to stay above 105% here. That's really the goal. We want to be up between 105 to 120% of FTP for these intervals. So if you use, yeah, Jordan, not a lot of TSS in the first 23 minutes. If you use the down arrow before this first interval starts, that is okay. If you're paying attention to what's on screen, one thing I'll tell you, and this is where you have the little mental carrot, there are 7 intervals today. Okay, so what is that? That's 3.5, 14, 17.5 minutes of work. Okay, you get to choose today, whether you're racing or not, whether you raced or not, it's irrelevant. You have the choice today to do 6 or 7. Don't make that choice till you get there. You'll stay with us. You'll do easy spinning if you choose not to do the 7th. That's the best way to do these workouts. Usually, even when I would do 6x4, which is the most I did of these, the 6th one was always a game time call. Do I feel good enough today to push through it and get through it? Or do I need to, like, number 5 was really hard and I'm going to back off. Today, that's the call you'll make once you get through number 6. So just something to think about. You can tell yourself there are 6 intervals instead of 7. And then if you decide to do the 7th, there you go. Oftentimes, you will decide to do the 7th. Sometimes you won't. That's going to ultimately be up to you. So you're in the driver's seat there. 25 seconds, and we're getting into this. If you want to use the down arrow, you can start the entire workout with the down arrow on because we're starting at 110%. So keep that in mind. With 10 seconds to go, ramp that power up, or ramp the cadence up. Power will ramp up. Ramp the cadence up now. All right. And we're into this block of work. It goes by quick. Rest goes by too quick. You settle in. If you're at 110% here and you're saying this is too much, bring that power down more in line to what 105% of your FTP is going to be. If you line up the first minute block with 105% of your FTP, then you can just proceed as planned. You can always use that down arrow when we get to the last 30 seconds, whatever you need, but that's our goal range, 105 to 120. If you can do it as prescribed, there we go. As Emily pointed out, don't worry about speed. Let's just focus on this effort. 20 seconds and it's going to ramp up. This is one of the workouts where you're envisioning the last 2.5 minutes of the run in an Ironman or in a sprint distance or Olympic distance the whole time. 3, 2, 1. Keep pushing. You got this. 90 seconds, all you have left. These are the type of reps where each one, it is okay. Like I said, envisioning that finish line, pushing to the end, pushing to that finish. You're going to make it. When you get to the minute mark, when you get to 60 seconds left, like you are right now, you have 60 seconds left. You can always get through 1 minute of anything. So just focus on each little block as it comes. Ten seconds and you'll be in that final push. 30 seconds to get across the line. 3, 2, 1, final push. This workout, it's okay to stand up for a moment if you need to. It's okay to use whatever tools that we've developed to get through. Stand up, vary the cadence, close your eyes, just work through it. Three, 2, 1, and easy. I see hard but happy faces. All right, nice work getting through that one. This little, you'll notice the rest periods, they're 2:45 instead of 2:30. Typically, we do exactly 1-to-1 when we do VO2 work. That's just the most common. But when you're doing it outside, sometimes it'll run 5 seconds, 10 seconds longer. I made it 2:45 today because, again, of the scope of all the work we're doing. If you're just doing on the bike work, if you're just doing this, it's very easy to quantify with everything. The key here is these 2.5 minute blocks. So I'd rather we give ourselves, it seems small, but 15 seconds of extra rest on each one to try to be able to really work through these. You just knocked one out in your mind. Doesn't matter if you plan on doing it. You should be telling yourself there are only 6 of these, and you are just going to focus on each one. That's important to note. The recovery period that I talk about, this is one where the power is fixed, but these recovery periods really crucial to figure out if this level of easy spinning sets you up for success on the next one, or if you need to spin a little bit harder, spin a little bit easier. You just find that sweet spot. The recovery is yours. The reason this type of work can feel so hard is because physiologically, especially with the training you all have done, you know it's doable. It is doable. It is possible. It hurts. It's very different than the 1 minute blast where it's just, obviously this is an unsustainable power for more than 60 seconds. This is just that it hurts, it's hard, but you can work through it. And that's where the kind of beauty of this workout is it's not into that anaerobic zone. We're giving you full recovery ratio, 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. You have time to clear the lactate that's being accumulated, but this is really helping. And I'll include myself in this bucket. Nobody loves to hear this, but this type of VO2 work and incorporating it as you get older becomes even more important because that naturally drops as we age. So 20 seconds, and that pretty much applies to anybody after you're 30 years old. So I'm in the same boat. 10 seconds. Remember, bring that cadence up right about now to whatever goal cadence you have, whatever worked for the last one. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. You just break it down into little bite-sized blocks like we focused on. We develop all the tools in training to get through those longer 10-minute, 11-minute sets like Tuesday. There's no 11-minute sets here. All you have to do is push through each 30 seconds at a time, and you'll be done before you know it. When you bump up against those walls in workouts like this, bump up against the question, can I keep pushing? Can I work through it? Can I keep going? And you do, that's just training the mind. That's training yourself to always say yes when it comes to race day. Whatever obstacle you face, you're going to keep pushing through. All right, power ticks up again. Good job. You're in whatever position is most comfortable on the bike. You're working through it. You're wherever you want to be. You're at the cadence you want to be at. You have 60 seconds left now. 60 seconds. Are you ever going to back off with 60 seconds left on the run in any distance triathlon? The answer is no. So you don't back off here. Great job. Final push. Final push. But remember, you can always use the down arrow if needed. We don't want to fail the workout. We want to set you up for success. So work through this last 30 seconds, 20 seconds to go now. Three, two, one, easy. These are the ones you want to stop pedaling for a second, whatever you want to do when the interval, you can stop pedaling for a second if you want. These are the recovery is your time. You don't have to go right into the power that Zwift is asking. You can stop, collect yourself, do whatever you want before the next one. Awesome work. One other thing I should mention is even if you've worked through these couple at the full power, you can still play around. You know, if we were doing these outside, you might hit one where you've done two of them. You might be on number 3 and saying, you know what, this is getting a little hard. I need to go more towards the bottom of the power band available rather than building throughout. And then I'm going to try to build again on number 4 or 5 or 6. So that's always an option. Just because you've done the first couple at you work through the couple at the prescribed power, doesn't mean you have to do every single one that way. You can back this one down for a little bit of a breather. Obviously, it's still hard, but you can always back down as needed and then bring that power back up if you're up to it for numbers 5 and 6 if you want to. So just something to keep in mind. You're in the driver's seat. It's hard, but you have some control over where you are in this workout. You see the numbers if everything's set as it is. So those numbers on the screen are showing you what 110, 115, 120 is. You keep those numbers in mind as we go through the workout. You use those down arrows. As long as you're in that range, you're getting the benefit. Even if you were to do one whole block at 110%, you're getting the benefit of this workout. So just something to keep in mind. Even if you don't do that, sometimes it's nice to tell yourself that you have the option. So another kind of mind game you can play to work through it. Another one for me is we're coming up on effort number 3. I think when you know you're doing at least 6 reps, you're kind of in that middle zone. For me, I just always would tell myself, this is the last one. If you need to call it, if you have to stop after this one, then you stop. So a lot of times you're going to push, you're going to push through the last effort in a interval set. So whatever you need to tell yourself to get through it, just do that. And then we'll focus on the next one. 15 seconds, start bringing the cadence up right now. Recovery goes by quick. It's time to go again. Now we're getting into the meat of it. 5 seconds. Bring the cadence up, up, up. 2, 1. Here we go. I've watched people, want to use that up arrow and extended blocks of work, this is the one where there's no up arrow needed. This is the one where you can fully psych yourself up. You can bring the adrenaline of race day into it. You can allow yourself to push to that place. We don't always want to do that. This is one of those rare workouts where I will encourage you to do that. You can bring that excitement of race day. You can bring the excitement of knowing this is putting in the work for your goal event. This is setting yourself up for success. Some workouts we're working through smoothly, ticking the box. This one, you can allow yourself to feel all those emotions that carry you through race day. Nice work. Power goes up that little bit. Reminder, whatever the power is at for that first minute, you can use that down arrow if you need to keep power there through the whole set. This is the work where you challenge yourself, and this is the work that will make those 85, those 90, those 95% sub-threshold efforts feel better and actually be more sustainable. This is the work you need. Less than a minute. You're under a minute to go. Final push. Final push through all the way to the last second. Ten seconds. Finish strong. You got this. Three, two, one, and easy. All right. Good work. Good work. This power range, these efforts, these are one, it doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter if you are a Nice or a Kona winner or a Tour de France winner. This type of work is hard, period. I never had, this was one of the only workouts. This was one of two workouts in my entire cycling career. Two workouts that I would see on the schedule, and I would be nervous. I'd wake up, I would just have that, Alicia turning it down to 105%, perfect. Stay there. Just try to keep it at that 105 or above. Yeah, it 100% okay. 105 to 120% is that range. And depending on our bodies, everybody has some genetic predispositions. Some of us are really good at, I had riders who, yes, it hurt, but they could ride 120% over and over. And then some like me, these were actually this was the really necessary work. And it was a lot more challenging to push up towards that 120% range. It takes time. It takes repeatability. And in the scope of tri training, we're not going to ever just layer these on, at least this time of year, week after week after week. So we need doses of it. 105% is great. Sustain it. Aim to get through 2.5 minutes at a time of that. What I was going to tell you guys is this type of work, it's hard. Meaning, like I said, I would be nervous before. There was one other climbing workout, and that would do the same thing to me. But you can channel that nervousness the same as you can in a race. We talked about on the coaches call, Michael Middleton dancing in the start corral, right? Where everybody else kind of deer in the headlights around him. And there was no doubt he was nervous. There's no doubt that there's some apprehension and fear and a bunch of emotions about what's to come. But you can channel that into positivity, and you can channel that into performance. So let's try to do that for this next one. We're going to forget about number 7. You're going to do it or you're not. We'll deal with that when we get there. But this is going to be number 4. So as far as we're concerned, this is going to be past the halfway point the minute you start pedaling here. 15 seconds. The most important thing is getting through the workout. So if that's at 105% or 110, that's better than blowing up completely and doing less reps. So cadence up, 3, 2, 1, let's go. These are those hard reps. These are those fast hundreds, fast 150s, 200s, depending on what you're doing in the pool, that allow us to, on race day, we're sitting at 80%, we're sitting at 85, and we feel great. This is expanding that upper aerobic range. It's training us muscularly to be able to put out this power, and we have nice little 2.5-minute blocks. You can work through each of these. You're almost a minute in already. Power ticks up that little bit now. And remember, all the tools, whether it's standing, whether it's a focal point, use those to get through this last bit. Less than a minute to go. Push through the final minute. All right, final push. You got this. Stand up, move around, whatever you need to. Push through all the way to the line. 20 seconds. You're never going to stop with 20 seconds. Two, one, easy. All right. Nice work. As long as I'm counting correctly, that was number 4. Great job. Great job. That you're getting to that tipping point mentally, where you're not in that middle range anymore. You're through it. Next one's going to be number 5. We're working through these. You're doing great. Repeat that same pattern. And one other thing to think about is, if you want to, rather than just going to turn it down during, you know what those numbers look like, 110, or you can pull out your phone if you want to and do the math real quick, but you can use the down arrow during the rest period right now to set those numbers up on the Zwift screen so that you don't have to be adjusting it during. Obviously, if you're going to stay at 105, it requires you adjusting during, but just something to think about, because it's hard sometimes to move around there. I got a text from Jim this morning. Don't see him on here. He said he was tired from travel, but I think he looked at the workout and he just said, I don't know. So next time you see Jim, next time you talk to Jim, you can give him a nice hard time. Tell him he wasn't up to the challenge and hassle him a bit. But I think he woke up, pulled up the old Training Peaks and said, we're not going to do that right now. Because Jim didn't race Nice. He just traveled to Nice. He was enjoying the French wine and baguettes and cheese. So, we're going to have to give him a hard time for that. But I think, yeah, very normal for these. You're going to see high heart rates. That's especially by this point in the workout. Fueling does matter. We're going to be starting rep number 5. Fuel does matter. Whatever you're putting in, you're burning through pure sugar here. There's no way around that. There's short blocks of work, but we never want to lose that focus. We always want to fuel for the intensity, fuel for the effort. We can get away with not being as on top of that when we have lower power blocks of work, but this is one where it's important. Yes, traveling with toddlers, believe me, I know, harder than Ironman. I'll go race the Ironman. It's fine. Do that instead. All right. You passed that turning point. Tell yourself, this is the last one. Tell yourself whatever you need. Bring the cadence up 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. You got this. You focus on this effort. You don't worry about what else is to come. Focus on this one. Let your mind drift to that finish line. Let your mind go to the place where you're 2.5 minutes away. You see the finish line of an Ironman. You see the finish line of whatever distance triathlon. The elation that comes with that, the knowing you're going to get there. Let yourself see that finish line on this interval, starting here. And it's amazing the mental power that can have when that finish line is in sight. Don't worry about any other reps. Just focus on this one. This is the finish line. "60 seconds. This is where you train yourself to make the choice. This is where you tell yourself you can do it, you can work through it, and you make the choice to work through it." Using the down arrow on this workout, not a bad thing. The key is to work through it. If it needs to be at 105%, you put it to 105%. The key is to work through. Final push. Ten seconds. Come on. 3, 2, 1. Easy. All right. Nice work. Nice work. Nice job. These are challenging. You've certainly passed the tipping point now. Proud of you guys for working through it. These are high value. They're not easy. I will tell you, it's amazing. And we'll try to do this before we kind of go to our real winter training phase, which you still have a while until. But with athletes that I'm working one-on-one with, it's really fun to see the progression in these 2.5 minutes. Feels like there's no more. I had an athlete who we started with 2 minutes, then it was 2.5, then it was 3, and they actually just did the 4, which made me nervous even putting it on their calendar. They did their first 4x4, and they said they felt amazing and they worked through it. And I had them go back and read their comments on Training Peaks in their file from the 2.5 minute version and the 2 minute version. And they said, I don't know how that just wasn't possible. There was no way that I was doing another 2 minutes or another 90 seconds on top of those days. And the answer is that's true. On those days, there wasn't. But when we layer this on throughout the season, when we just give ourselves this dose, we recover from it, we go again. It's amazing what you're capable of. And that's no different than here at Middleton talking about the longer endurance rides. It's when we just start layering these things in as we can, not every week, just when it fits the schedule. It's amazing the adaptation that can take place over longer periods of time. Goes back, I think it's like an old business adage. You overestimate what you can do in 6 months or even a year, but you underestimate what you can do in, say, 2 years or 5 years. In endurance sport training, I think it could be boiled down to you overestimate what you could do in a month, but we underestimate what we can do in 12 months. So every little piece of the puzzle matters. All right. You're coming up to, for all practical purposes, what you can say is your actual final rep. This is number 6. If we make the decision about number 7 after this one, you focus on this. This can be your last one. You can genuinely tell yourself that. O'Driscoll is shaking his head. bring the cadence up a little bit, and we're going to get into it. I'm going to let you focus on this. This is your real finish line. 3, 2, 1, let's go. You've worked hard to get yourself to this 6th rep. Remember all the apprehension, all the stress, all the can I do this that you might have felt on reps 2, 3, 4, even 5. You're on effort number 6 now. This is fantastic work. Use that as motivation to push on through this. All right, get ready. Power's going to tick up that little bit, but you got this. You can also turn it down. There's no need to go above if it's not sustainable. One minute to go. You push through the final minute. This is the finish line. It's there. Everybody here knows that finish line feeling. Everybody here knows what it's like to be 30 seconds away from crossing that banner, from going through that line. Channel that and push through this last little bit. Twenty seconds. Three, 2, 1. All right. Nice job. Nice work. Amazing job. Now, you get 2.5 minutes to consider whether you want to do one more. Truly optional. You've gotten a great workout in. And the reason there's the choice is because if you were completely fresh and I knew that you could do it, I'd say do the 7. I don't know exactly how much fatigue every single person is carrying. I would always rather back a workout off when we're 99.9% exhausted and done, rather than asking you for that last 0.01% of effort. I'd always rather save that for race day. You will know if you look internally, do I want this? And not want in the sense, obviously another interval would hurt, but do I want this? Am I mentally, do I want this extra push, or am I good for the day? And there's either decision is 100% fine. I never had one of these workouts where I had a fixed number. And I can tell you the majority of the time when it was 6x4, a lot of the times, depending where I was, I would finish that 5th one and say, okay, I can do the 6th, but today is not the day for that. And sometimes, probably 40% of the time, I'd say, yep, today is the day I'm doing the 6th interval. And there was no, there was certainly no shame. You've worked through an amazing workout, but it's a very internal question. And I ask you because you get to check in. You always want that little extra push, that last bit of energy for race day, because we only have so many of those efforts in us. So in just about 50 seconds, if you decide no 7th interval for you, just turn erg mode off, or use the down arrow insanely, or just hold that down arrow indefinitely. But and you just start your cool down now. We get a nice extended cool down. Otherwise, you work through this one. I do plan on talking you through it. Is anybody going to do the 7th? Let's see. Anybody? 1, O'Driscoll. Okay. All right. We have a few people doing the 7. Great. I was like, if nobody's going to do it, then we'll just talk. But okay. But you don't have to. Just keep that in mind. No groupthink. You tell your legs, you tell your body what to do. 10 seconds. Let's bring that cadence up. And let's go. 3, 2, 1. Here you go. This one, 100%, you chose. This is the real end. 2.5 minutes. Bring all the tools out, all the tricks out to work through. You got this. Just like you have been. Same tools, but there's a sense of relief when you truly know it's your last one. You had the choice on the last one, but this one, there's no extra push. There's nothing more afterwards. Power's going to tick up that little bit. 90 seconds, it's nothing. You're going to work through it. You're going to finish strong. When you're at mile 15 of the marathon, what choice are you going to make? Are we going to keep pushing or are we going to stop? When you're at mile 20 of the marathon, you're going to keep pushing or are we going to stop? We're going to finish strong. We're going to work through it. You're almost to the last 30 seconds of this effort. Final push. You got this. Enjoy these last 30 seconds. You asked for this. You set yourself up for it. Enjoy these last 30 seconds. You made it to this point. You made it through this workout. Three, two, one. All right. Great job. Great job. Whether you did 6 or 7, that great job applies 100%. And I want you to know that because whatever choice you made, choosing to push through for the 7, you're making a conscious decision saying, I want this. I'm in a good space for it. If you chose not to do the 7, that's okay. Because that was also a conscious choice where you said, you know what? Today is not that day. This isn't the moment to do that. There's no harm in either one. The point is making that decision. The point is that you were in control and you made that decision. So congratulations on getting through that one. That is, like I said, there are very few, there are a lot of workouts we do where there's going to be discomfort. And then it's more just a matter of, okay, I need to work through important work, but this 8-minute block or this 10-minute block or this 12-minute block of work, and it's uncomfortable. It's at 90%, but I know I can do it. This is the one where you get to experience a little bit of the same doubts we do on race day. No matter how well trained we are, we all experience them, wondering, did I do enough? Am I ready? Is this okay? The answer is yes, right? And it's the same as this. Can you get through it? Yes. Maybe we adjust power. Maybe you adapt it for yourself, but the answer is you can work through it. So these workouts are an opportunity to learn, to use all the tools you've developed to work through it the same way we do on race day. Instead of just saying, no sweat, said George. Yeah, probably a lot of sweat, but from the actual perspective. But you guys, I think working through it together is a big thing. You knew you weren't alone in this, and the hardest sessions always go best when we have that camaraderie. And the same thing applies to a race. even though Ironman triathlon in general can seem like an individual sport, a lot of times you have other Tower 26 athletes out on course. And even if you don't, you have hundreds, if not thousands sometimes, of other athletes out on course. And you're all going through the same thing, whether you're winning, the event or your age group, or just looking to finish. So these workouts, they're as much about getting through and making the decision to continue and using the tools in order to do so, as they are about the power. Great job working through that. I think, like Jordan had commented, I give Jim a hard time, but I think he might actually be more tired. I think flying with the toddlers might be harder than this workout. So, so in a way, he already did this work a couple days ago, but knowing Jim, he will get through this. And I think all of you doing this live, I think it's also a cool feeling knowing that you guys, people, are Tower 26 teammates watching you go through this workout. That's what's going to get them through it when they do the recorded version. When you give this to somebody and they're just alone, it's a really, really challenging session. So knowing that you have that team aspect, knowing that others have pushed themselves through it, super valuable. So I think you can always carry that through with you on the mornings where we're doing a session that some of your teammates are going to do later in the day or in the coming days. Nice little 90 seconds of cool down left. This is a workout where the efforts are so hard. If you have extra time available, no harm to spin a little bit longer, but we will have had a good cool down by the time this finishes, so no need to force it. Like Emily just highlighted, please eat after this. Please have a good meal. Recovery drink's fine, but do try to eat a good meal after this one. This is really high intensity, and ultimately what dictates our ability to absorb it is how well we recover from it. So this was a big session. Whatever else you have this week, if you're thinking, should I push or should I back down a tiny bit? Other sessions, back down a tiny bit. This was your push. Working through 6 or 7 of these, this was your push. So keep that in the back of your mind for the next several days, the remainder of your training. But I'm very proud of you guys. This is one I have more stress and apprehension watching other people suffer than suffering myself, because it's not under my control. So thank you for all working through it. Thank you for committing to it. Thank you for not, maybe in your mind you were, but at least on the screen, Zoom or Zwift, cursing at me too much. And you can know that you put a big deposit in. It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and magically be better, but 7 to 10 days from now, as the body absorbs this work, there is a tangible, noticeable change when you're pushing up to those higher powers that you'll get to enjoy. So thank you for joining. Thanks for inspiring your teammates. Thanks for putting a smile on my face to start the day. And I will see you guys next week.